Hey, Dr. Rowe here. Hope you're all well. And looking at the clock, I don't have a lot of time, 7 minutes or so. So I'm hoping it is lagging. I can see. Apologies, I've got several things happening on my computer. So I'm going to speak slowly on the basis that you can still follow this. Apologies about the lag. There's a lot going on in the background with the computer. So, question about raising money. I happen to be on a 3-day property training at the moment, and this afternoon I'm going to be talking about raising money. Now, I can't give you advice, go and seek professional independent advice, etc. So what I'm going to share with you is just a few thoughts as a property investor, having done this for many years. What would be worth considering? I think for a lot of people, they're nervous about approaching other people for money. They are nervous in the sense that, what if they say no? I don't want to appear desperate, but I kind of feel like, sometimes I come across like that. What are some of the tricks, techniques, tools? I don't like the word tricks, but that's what people say, for raising money in terms of how to deal with people. So look, this is a conversation I could easily have with you for a couple of hours, and I don't want to do that. Not because I don't want to do it, because I don't have a lot of time with you right now. So here's 4 things. First of all, remember that when you're talking, and look, you've heard me talk about this. If you haven't done it, go and take the test. Below, we have a podcast on money, www.cicado.com/podcast. Go and look at the podcast relating to money to deal with that. If you've got any blocks around dealing with money in your own personal life and asking people for money, if you're not sure about how you're communicating effectively, go and take the test. It is a massive pain. Look, people say, well, how does communicating with impact work? How does it fit into my life? Do you want to raise money? Yes. Think about the hundreds of thousands of pounds that you haven't raised because you haven't communicated effectively, but someone else has and got that money that you could have had. Shit, I hadn't thought about it that way. It's very expensive not to be able to communicate effectively. What the test does, it tells you which area of communication you need to work on now in order to solve that problem, which is I'm losing £100,000 of money that I could have raised. Okay, so go take the test, cicado.com/test. Now, the first thing to do is, because there's all this chatter going on in your head when you're in your money raising process, if you're talking to people, is if you're chatting to yourself, all you're hearing is yourself and you're not listening to the other person. And this is a mistake I made in the early days. I was so nervous about it. What if I get it wrong? What information do I need to give them? And as I'm talking, I'm almost trying to prepare. This is what I used to be. I was almost trying to prepare my next sentence to say before I'd even listened genuinely to what they were saying. If you can relate to this, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So if you run a business, property investing, you run a business and you've got to expand your business, it could be a franchise, you're trying to raise money for that, whatever, and you've got all these ideas in your head, the biggest challenge is those ideas are bouncing around here. But you've got to listen to what they're telling you. They might be giving you their pain. They might be telling you how frustrated they are with the bank. They might be telling you that the money's been sat there for 5 years and they don't care if it sits there for another 5 years, but they just want the money to work harder. They're giving you lots and lots of clues. So actually, a better approach, rather than to get it right, is to find out about their situation. And that's really important. I've actually created a mini series on this, a mini CWI series, which takes you through the exact recipe, the formulaic approach when you're in this space, by the way, but that's a conversation for another day. Now, how do you not show you're desperate? Well, you just don't kind of sit there going, have you got money, have you got the money, have you got the money? Just say to them, so you mentioned about your money in the bank, how long has it been there? 5 years. So if it's sat there in the bank for the next 5 years, how would you feel about that? That's a great question. And they go, well, quite frankly, I just want to, we're not going to be happy with that. We're making less than 1%, and looking at interest rates at the moment, we're not even sure if we're going to get 1% for the next couple of years. It might even go negative at the moment. The banks are talking about that, Bank of England, as I'm recording this. So that type of dialogue is really useful because now they're indicating where their pain is, and of course you get into a conversation piece with them, and they go, so what is it you're offering? And again, you don't go, well, this is what I can offer you. You just say, well, there's several options. And then you go into, depending on how your structure is, you come in with a certain script and approach to this. So again, don't be desperate, be relaxed about it, almost taking it away. And then the third thing is to have a clear message. If you're in an ad hoc conversation, you don't really want to get into a pitch here. In my mini series, what I talk about is is like 8 points, 8 elements that you have to get in place, and it's very specific as well. It's like a recipe broken down. Now, when I talk about a clear message, you can't be throwing lots of ideas around in front of them. Oh, we could do this, we could do that, you could do this with your money, you could do that, I could do this with it, I'm going to be doing this, I'm doing this type of project, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and they go, well, so what is it actually you're offering me? So think about that. Just be clear. Now, often when people are desperate or enthusiastic, I'm sure you might relate to this, they start to chuck lots of things out there. You literally start throwing, and they've got all their facts and figures. Did you know this? In Bank of England, and the other person goes boom, 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 because most people are already overloaded with information, and if you overload them even more, they can't make a decision because too many choices actually inhibit decision process. Again, that's another conversation for a sales discussion. And number 4 is give them space. So it might be you say, well, there's 3 things we can do. One is if you leave the money for 5 years, I've got an option that could give you a really good return, but you'd have to leave it there, and the objective would be you get a great return at the end. Another one is that you lend the money for 2 years, so you wouldn't get such a great return, but it gives you flexibility to get access to that money. Or the third thing is you could come in as a joint venture partner. So there's 3 things there, and that's it. Now at that point there, you give them the space. You allow them to ask the questions again, and you go back in the circle, as opposed to blah, blah, blah. The problem with spewing information on people is that by the time they've got it, it's like a bowl of spaghetti. They can't unravel it. So remember, if it's 1 or 2 strains of spaghetti, it's a lot easier to go, there's the spaghetti, it's the long one, the short one, the medium. I want the long one. Thank you very much. Keep it simple. Give them the space and give them an opportunity to respond and ask questions. And questions are not negative, but that's another conversation for another day. All right, I have to get back, literally get myself ready. Hopefully that was useful, and I will see you on my next live.